Hey there, today I'm going to talk about fibrocystic breast disease and iodine and probably a little bit about thyroid as well. So stay tuned. Hi there, so let's talk about fibrocystic breast disease. So what is it? It is when your breasts become really hard, ropey, and lumpy. So it can be just fibrosis, which is just hard, ropey, lumpy, or there can be cysts involved as well. I think that mine was fibrocystic when I had problems years ago because they were pretty bad. But I never went to anyone to get them checked out because I don't really do doctors. So there are different explanations for why they happen. So if you look at the mainstream stuff, they'll tell you that it's all hormonal and that it's fairly normal. And then about half of women have problems with fibrocystic breasts or fibrosis of the breasts, and that they get better and worse throughout the month depending on your cycle, and that there's no real higher incidence of breast cancer, which I find hard to believe, but that's what they reckon when you look at the mainstream stuff and information, and that there's not really a whole lot that you can do apart from manage it with painkillers and things like that. So I think looking back, pretty much all of my adult life up until 2011, 2009, 10 sometime, I probably had fibrosis in my breasts or fibrocystic breast disease. As far back as I remember, they were always hard and lumpy and sore. They might not have been when I was a teenager. I can't honestly remember, but definitely through my 20s and 30s and into my 40s, they were like that all the time. And so throughout my cycle, through the month, they would get better and worse, and they would get really bad when I was premenstrual, and bad enough that I realised that if I did some lymphatic drainage on them, it actually helped. But they were always just lumpy, gnarly, especially the left one on the left side, real lumpy and sore, especially underneath them. So that was a constant, and they were like that until I started using iodine in 2009, I think it would have been. And then I don't know how long it took, but after using iodine for a while, I realised that my breasts were actually getting soft, and I didn't know that that's the way they were supposed to be, because I hadn't really kind of known any different that I remembered. So the reason that I started taking the Lugol's iodine was because I had read, I got onto iodine because I was looking for solutions for an underactive thyroid. I was pretty certain, or I knew that my thyroid was underactive. I had had a couple of TSH tests over the years at a couple of different doctors, and they'd always come back normal. But I found out that my second test that I think I had that done when I was in my mid-30s, with not long after I had that one done, they adjusted what the normal levels were in Australia, and so I would have actually been under at that stage. But to be honest, I'm quite glad that I wasn't diagnosed back then, because I probably would have started on the medication bandwagon, and I would rather not be there because I don't take any meds even now. So I started on Lugol's iodine after reading Dr. Brownstein. I've got it written down here. I think of his name. Dr. David Brownstein's book, Iodine, Why You Need It and Why You Can't Live Without It, I think it's called. Yep. And so I read that book from cover to cover, and that got me really intrigued because Dr. Brownstein had been working with a lot of people with thyroid issues using Lugol's iodine, and his book was quite in depth, and so I decided to try it. And when I first started taking the Lugals, I noticed some differences in my health, and then after a period of time, what I noticed was that my breasts went from hard, lumpy and sore to being soft and pain-free. And that was unexpected. I didn't kind of expect that to happen, and it was kind of just something that was completely new. So I knew that iodine deficiency was an issue, and had been an issue for a long time for me. So I stayed on the Lugals iodine, and everything was fine for probably, I don't know, quite a while. I can't remember. And then I started having some problems, which it was putting down to menopause and stress. I'd been forced into early menopause in my mid-40s with a business that we bought that was not a good idea and that failed. And so my body just pushed me with the stress straight into menopause. I was 44 at the time and did 2 pregnancy tests that year because I wasn't expecting menopause. But so I'd had an early menopause, and the stress, the financial stress after that was kind of ongoing. And so I was kind of putting what I had going on down to stress and menopause and, still thyroid and what have you. And then I decided eventually to go and see a doctor who was a bit alternative, a bit sort of functional medicine type doctor, and get some tests done. So I went to see her, and one of the main reasons I went was because I actually had a lump thing in my belly, which turned out she said was a lipoma, and it's still there. But anyway, that's beside the point. And so we went to see her, and she tested my thyroid levels, not just a TSH, but she did some other tests, and it came back that my thyroid was overactive, which kind of threw me. I wasn't expecting that. And I was basically diagnosed with Graves' disease, but I didn't go and see a specialist because I refused to go and see one. I decided to manage the disease myself, which is what I did, and I no longer have it. But it made me really fearful of iodine because I realised that the iodine may have kicked that off. Mainstream information will say that iodine can cause an overactive thyroid. Other information that I've seen from people who really know their stuff about thyroid says that iodine can cause, if you've got autoimmune thyroid disease, so if you've got Hashimoto's, it can cause it to swing to Graves'. And that's my belief is what happened, is I think that my underactive thyroid was possibly autoimmune, and that taking the Lugals caused it to eventually swing the other way. So I've been scared of iodine since then. But since then, over the years, I've known that my body needs iodine, and so I've taken Nascent Iodine on and off. I've actually got 2 bottles of it here. I don't know how I ended up with 2. Must have remembered that I had it and bought some more. But I haven't taken it consistently. I've always just taken a little bit of water here and there, drop a couple of drops, a couple of days, and then off again. But what I've been finding over the last probably year or 2, is that the fibrosis is coming back in my breasts. So I've been kind of trying to decide where to go with that and what was best to do. And then I listened to an interview with this gentleman named Ian on it, and he was talking about his product, Perfect Iodine, and that got me really excited. So I'll just talk a little bit more about what iodine does in the body first before I go into this iodine. So iodine, of course, is used by the thyroid to create thyroid hormones, or used by the body to create thyroid hormones. So there are iodine receptors in your thyroid. There are also iodine receptors in your breasts. There are iodine receptors in your testicles or your ovaries. And I think there's iodine receptors in your eyes, possibly other areas of the body as well. Now, iodine deficiency is reasonably common these days because people's diets just don't have enough. Some countries' soils are very low in iodine. New Zealand is one of those countries. Australia is the same. Areas of the United States, I believe, are the same. So it's fairly common to be deficient in iodine. The other thing that causes problems with iodine deficiency is some of the things we're being exposed to. So bromine. So bromide is used in a lot of commercially made breeds. I'm not sure about here in New Zealand, but in the United States I know it's used. I've got a feeling it's used in Australia as well. And so bromide will block the iodine receptors in the cells. Another thing that does it is fluoride, and another one is chlorine. So all of those three things can be an issue, and especially if you are low in iodine, because if they're blocking receptors and you've only got a little bit of iodine in your body, then it just can't get to where it needs to go. So avoiding and eliminating those things from your daily life is really important, especially if you think you have issues with iodine. So yeah, don't drink fluoridated water. Try not to bathe in it if at all possible. But definitely don't drink it. Don't use fluoridated toothpastes. Filter your water or distill your water. We distill ours now. We've used filters for years, but we now distill our drinking water. Cook in filtered or distilled water if possible, and avoid breads with bromine in them, and spa pools as well. Spa pools, bromine's used often in spa pool. Bromide is often used in spa pools. Same thing, just slight change in the name. So yeah, so avoid those. If you think you have a thyroid issue, look into iodine more, or if you have any of the symptoms of thyroid disease, which I had a lot of them, so always had weight issues my whole life, so that's one, and fluid retention can be another, foggy head and that sort of thing can be another. I had flaky skin, dry, brittle hair and fingernails. Not having any moons on your fingernails, or very small moons. I think I'm trying to get in front of the camera. You'll see mine are nice and big and healthy these days. I didn't used to have really any moons on my fingernails, and that's a sign of thyroid hormone being too low in the body, or thyroid problems. Yep. What else? Trying to think. Being cold, that's the other thing too. Feeling cold a lot of the time. So if you suspect, one of the best ways to work out whether you have a thyroid issue, low thyroid, is to take your body temperature every morning when you wake up before you get out of bed. And if your body temperature is consistently low, so that's lower than around 37, I think. Mine was usually sitting around 35 and a half in the morning. Then that's a sign of an underactive thyroid. My belief is that underactive thyroid, estrogen dominance, fibrocystic breasts, they all kind of go together. All of these things are part of the same problem. They just got different names. That's where modern medicine does. They give names, they diagnose things, don't give you any answer to them, and just give you drugs to manage them, basically. And so, but they're all part and parcel. Some people just have some and some have others, and I have had the whole lot. So yeah, so where was I going next? I'll just have a look at my notes. So iodine is essential for hormone production, for thyroid, and to basically help to keep your body healthy. Thyroid hormone is incredibly essential to your body. Without it, there's all sorts of things going wrong. And for sex hormone production as well, which is really important, even post-menopausal. I mean, you've still got some sex hormone floating around, and important to keep that where it should be in an balance, as best as possible anyway. So iodine has traditionally been used lots. It used to be an essential in the first aid kit, essential for any kind of skin issues, cuts, scrapes, and that sort of thing. and even like fungal infections and things like that, it can be effective for, because it is antifungal and antibacterial. It would probably make a much better option as a hand sanitizer than some of the garbage that's being sold, toxic, nasty stuff that's being sold on the market. And yeah, so as I said, I use Lugol's. Lugol's is a really dark brown, has a funky smell liquid. That's Lugol's iodine. And it's a combination of usually iodine, and who knows what else. And that's what I was taking initially. And then since my little episode with Graves' disease, I have taken Nascent Iodine off and on. As I said, I've got 2 bottles here. Now, the Nascent is atomic iodine, so it's had its structure slightly changed, and it's supposedly the form of iodine that your body wants to use. But I've still always been very cautious with it since then, because it's very much like Lugol's in its smell and its colour and its taste. So this is it here. It's quite a dark brown colour, as you can see, and the other one is not quite as dark, but still a dark brown. Still got that real strong iodine smell and taste. Now, when I saw Ian talking about this product here and explaining the difference, I was very intrigued and very excited. So this product, as you'll see, is completely clear. So it has no colour and has only a very slight iodine taste. Now, what it is he said he came across, he already had a supplement company and he makes some fantastic supplements, but he came across some people who had a proprietary process to put iodine into distilled water. So iodine, he said, normally when it's made, it's using a gas, and the gas has to be put into the liquid and stabilized. Now, in the other products, which are generally iodine tinctures, they use alcohol or glycerine as the base for the tincture. And he said that they use alcohol or plastics sometimes and other things to stabilize the gas into the liquid to keep it in there. And those things can cause problems in and of themselves. And I would say probably the purity of the iodine as well may be an issue. I'm not really sure. It's hard to find information on this stuff. But this one here is pure iodine in distilled water. There's nothing else added to it. So these guys have worked out a way to get the iodine into the water and keep it there. If you leave the lid off or leave it in a spray bottle, it will start to dissipate after about a month or so. So you need to use it fairly quickly if that's the case. But we don't have any problems using that much. We're using, the dosage for this is 1 ml is the RDA. So the RDA for iodine, as the recommended daily allowance, is 150 micrograms. Now, the mainstream information will tell you that if you take too much iodine, you may end up with iodine poisoning, or you may end up with a overactive thyroid. Okay, but when you consider that the Japanese average daily consumption of iodine is between 1,000 and 3,000 micrograms, so the RDA is 150, they're eating between 1 and 3,000, and I can guarantee that a lot of them probably eat a lot more than that between seafood and seaweeds. And they're not all running around with overactive thyroids. They're all running around a whole damn sight healthier than most of us in Western countries. So it's not the amount of iodine, I don't believe. It is the form of iodine, and then having necessary cofactors or whatever to be able to utilize it. Now, this iodine here, Ian said that it's safe from birth right up, and you can basically take as much of it as you want, and it's not going to cause any problems. So I started off a little bit cautiously, just doing the 1 ml a day. So that's, if you're using the spray, that's 5 sprays under the tongue, like so. And then I've just been increasing it a bit, and so I'll take 2 or 3 doses a day, and I spray it onto my face at night time as well before I go to bed as a cleanser. As I said, it can be used for all sorts of skin issues, rashes, and all those sorts of things. As Ian said, no nutritional supplement is going to ever cure anything. So I'm not saying this is curing anything. It will create a difference if your body needs it. and that's the truth. So when you take something that's a nutritional or a herb or whatever, if your body needs it, it's going to create a difference if it's a good quality product. Okay, so I'm really excited about this. They have a small 30 ml bottle as well, so if you just want to take your 1 ml a day under the tongue, you can certainly do that with using the 30 ml bottles. This bottle is 125 mils, or actually knows 125 mils in that one there, and they sell them also in a pack of 3, which works out a bit cheaper, and you can put them on a subscription if you want to, which makes them cheaper again. So I've got a link to this from my website. I'll put the link below, so it'll take you through to my website, and then you can just follow that through. My links are affiliate links, which means I do get paid a commission if you choose to buy through me, and if you do that, I thank you greatly. Yeah, so thank you. If you like this video, if you've got any questions or comments, please fire away below. And if you like this video, don't forget to like, share and subscribe, and you send to anyone who may need this information, who may appreciate it. And if you are on YouTube, don't forget to hit the notification bell, and that way you'll be notified of any new videos. Okay, so that's it for today, and I thank you for watching, and I will talk to you again another day. Bye-bye.